There's a TikTok video which has gone viral. It features a morbidly obese young woman explaining the reasons that she's as wide as she is tall. Now, I'm about to play that video. It's a little over 2 minutes, but I should warn you, it'll feel like 2 or 3 days have gone by. If you make it through the entire 2¼ minutes without self-harming, you've done well. But let's listen to what she's got to say, then we'll reconvene and I'll explain why everything she's saying is bullshit.
I'm going to prove to you why white people are the reason I'm fat today. If white people didn't go looking for spices, then various sea routes to Indian subcontinent and Africa and other places of the world would not get discovered. And if they didn't get discovered, then East India Company would never come to Indian subcontinent. And if they didn't come, then the fertility of the land would not get destroyed because they forced us to cultivate tobacco and dyes and opioid, things like that. And that destroyed the fertility of my country. And then if that didn't happen, and if they didn't exploit and extract resources until my ancestors were left with nothing to eat, we wouldn't move to this grain heavy, very little nutritious diet that we have today. Also, if white people didn't come to the Indian subcontinent, then my ancestors would not go through 50 small, medium, large famines in a period of 200 years. That's a lot. And in 1943, nearly 3 million people would not have died due to starvation and malnutrition. And if that didn't happen, then this entire place and the people of this place would not adapt to survive on lower calories. We also wouldn't biologically be programmed to hold on to more fat because my genes, they always think, okay, you're gonna die. At some point, there's gonna be a famine, you will not have food, and you're gonna die. I would also not be prone to diabetes, high blood pressure, heart diseases, and all that other things. So yeah, white people is the reason why I can't lose weight.
Yes, apparently the reason that fat lass can't stop her pudgy little hands ramming food into her gullet is people who look like me. Now, I don't suffer from white guilt. I'm just not middle class enough. And not only that, but the British Empire gave up control of India 75 years ago. So it's got fuck all to do with me, and it's got fuck all to do with why she's overweight. So unless, when she goes to bed at night, there's a white guy who breaks into her house and forces food into her mouth, and I doubt it would take much forcing, the only reason she's overweight is herself. The reason that most people, other than those with rare genetic disorders, are obese is because they eat too much. It's that fucking simple. If you want to lose weight, eat less, move more. Now, the British Empire, and in particular the East India Company, there's no denying they did some fucking terrible things. But to hear someone from India complaining about the years of British occupation, it's a bit like that scene in Monty Python's The Life of Brian. What have the Romans ever done for us? There's no denying that the British took a lot from India. But they also brought a lot with them, like railways, irrigation, sanitation, modern farming, modern industry, and most importantly, law and fucking order. The reason that it was so easy for the British to take control of India was at the time of their invasion, because let's be blunt, that's what it was, India was already hundreds of years behind any European country. And without British occupation, would India be the country it is today? It's a global powerhouse. It's got one of the best space industries on the globe. But that's got nothing to do with why this lass is fat. She spoke about the high grain diet that her and her family, well, exist on. But it's 2022. So unless she's growing the crops herself, which I doubt because that would require moving around, why not buy something else? We live in a fucking global economy. I suspect the reason she lives on such a high grain diet is because she's too lazy to change. The famine of 1943 was terrible, and it's a really dark chapter in Britain's history. But the rest of the world were preoccupied with something else. 1943, what was going on? Oh yes, World War II. She also spoke about being at risk of high blood pressure, heart disease and diabetes. But again, that's all on her. She's at an elevated risk because she's so fucking overweight. And the reason she's overweight is she's eating too much. This isn't difficult. Blaming white people for her being overweight is as ridiculous as me saying the reason that I'm overweight because I'm a tubby bastard. That's down to the Turkish. But I could almost prove that because there's a takeaway 5 minutes from my house run by a delightful family of Turks and their food is fucking delicious. But it's not their fault. I go in there and I pay my money. My weight problems are all on me. Now, I recently had a health scare, meaning that I've had to change my lifestyle. I now eat much healthier, I do a lot more exercise. In the last 2 months, I've lost around 40 pounds. And when I come out walking or running, stop laughing at the back, I don't have a bottle of Coke or Pepsi with me. Now, I've got my fancy Italian water. Throughout her entire tirade, I noticed that something was missing. At no point did she take any personal responsibility or accountability for her size. In fact, when she gives the camera the finger at the end, that's probably the most exercise she's done this month. There is, however, one fatal flaw with her entire argument. She's saying she's overweight because of white people who left that country in the middle of the last century. But if it's down to white people forcing the Indians into a certain type of diet, then surely everyone in India would be as overweight as she is. So here's some pictures of some Indian ladies. I think we can agree, first of all, they're all very fuckable, and secondly, they're all rather thin. So if we focus on this young lady, she's from India, so presumably she's eating the same diet as our tubby friend. So why isn't she the size of a fucking whale? Well, I'm going to hazard a guess that if she is eating the same diet, she's eating a lot less of it and doing much more exercise. She may be eating a different diet completely. And I'm not even a qualified doctor or nutritionist. What this young woman is actually doing is something very common among the younger generation. If they have a problem, they will blame that problem on anyone except themselves. Now, she's blaming white people, which is very fashionable at the moment, because if you're like me, if you're a straight white man and you don't agree with everything the woke brigade go along with, people will assume that you were stood there casually chatting with Officer Derek Chauvin whilst George Floyd choked to death. And just to be clear, I've got nothing against the young woman because she's Indian. India is a wonderful country and I've got plenty of friends over there. And when it comes to women, I am rather fond of the Asian persuasion. I had to look at a lot of photographs before settling on those from earlier. It's just that I'm not attracted to an Indian woman who, if she went to the beach, Greenpeace would try and throw her in the sea. As ever, thanks for watching.